Hello everyone, and welcome to Babylon Leather's official channel. Today, we'll be crafting a Marmont Chain Shoulder Bag. Here is the display of the finished result. First, inspect all materials. If any issues arise, contact Babylon Official Support. If there are no issues, please start making 3 piping strips, 2 short and 1 long. To handle pieces: 1 front pocket patch piece, 1 bottom and side panel piece, 1 front pocket piece, 1 inner pocket piece, 1 front panel piece, 1 back panel piece. There are holes in this area of the back panel, but not on the front panel. Both of these pieces are flat pieces. Start by taking the 2 flat pieces. Measure 5 times the length of the stitch line and cut the thread. It is fine to measure a bit more each time. The thread provided is more than enough. Unwind the thread spool, take 2 needles, and set the remaining needles aside. Start threading the needle by passing the thread through the needle hole. Then pierce the thread in the middle using the needle tip. Pull the thread tight. Now the needle is properly threaded. Thread the other needle in the same way. Take the 2 flat pieces. Let us first identify the front and back sides. The side with larger holes is the front, and the side with smaller holes is the back. This side of the piece is the front. This side is the back. With both pieces facing front side up, align the holes like this. Use clips here to secure the alignment. Take a spare needle, cut a short piece of thread, align the holes, and secure them like this for easier stitching. Secure the other side of the flat piece using the same method. Trim the ends of the securing thread. Begin stitching. Be sure to sew only the top 2 layers of material. Start from the bottom and pass the needle up through the 3rd hole of the middle piece. Pass the second needle through the second set of holes using the same method. Pull both threads tightly to make sure the lengths are even. Then pass the first needle through the second hole, being careful not to pierce the thread. Pull the thread tight. The stitching is now started. Continue sewing using the double needle method. Pull the thread tight with every stitch, keep the thread direction consistent, and do not pierce the existing thread. Do not skip any holes. Always pull the thread vertically to avoid damaging the leather. Keep this in mind as we will not repeat this reminder later. Once all holes are sewn, begin finishing the stitch by sewing one stitch backward for reinforcement. Then pull both threads through to the backside. Leave a 3 mm tail, trim the threads, and carefully melt the thread ends with a lighter. Avoid burning the thread black or damaging the leather. This completes the thread finishing. Check the result of your stitching. Stitch the other side using the same method. Then locate the two guide holes. They are the 6th holes and noticeably larger than the others. Mark them. Measure 6 times the stitch length, then thread the needles as usual. Note that the pocket will be added at the 6th hole. We will not attach it yet. Take these two pieces and place them front side up. Start stitching by passing the needle from bottom to top through the first hole of the flap. Make sure to go through both layers. Then go from bottom to top through the first hole of the back panel. Use the second needle to pass through the second holes of both pieces in the same order. Continue stitching using this method until the first 5 holes are completed. Now the first 5 holes have been sewn. Take the inner pocket piece with the pocket opening facing downward. Place it on the left side, positioned as the bottom layer. Now begin stitching with the inner pocket included. Align its first hole with the 6th hole of the previously sewn materials. There are many layers here, so it might be a bit hard to stitch. Be careful not to poke yourself. Take your time and enjoy the process. Sew along this row of holes completely and finish by pulling the threads to the backside. Check the finished result of your stitching. Take one of the handle pieces. It will later be folded in half and stitched together. Measure 8 times the stitch length and thread the needles as usual. The handle piece should face front side up. Start from the 3rd hole, stitching from bottom to top, then stitch upward alone. Stop stitching after completing the fourth hole from the other end. Now the stitching is complete. Take the chain and divide it vertically into 2 sections like this. Combine them like this. Bending the handle like this will make stitching easier. Make sure the inside of the handle piece is aligned and the semicircular hardware is exposed on the outside. Then continue stitching forward as usual. After stitching the fourth hole on the opposite end, use the same method to attach the second section of the chain. After sewing the full circle of holes, finish the thread on the back side. Check the result after stitching. Sew the other strap using the same method. Take this piece. Also take this long strip piece. There are 3 piping strips. First find the longest one and set it aside with this piece. For the remaining 2, if their lengths are similar, use either one. If they differ, take the shortest one. Check whether the ends are even. If not, trim them. If they are, no trimming is needed. Take this piece with the front side facing up. Place the long strip piece with the back side facing up. Align both pieces front to front, with the long strip on top matching the first hole. Make sure the finished edges of the two pieces are aligned. Then secure them with clips. Take the piping cord and unravel it. Divide the piping cord evenly into two parts, making sure they are the same length. Start with one of them. Measure 4 times the stitch length and thread the needles as usual. Begin stitching by passing the needle through the first hole of both materials. Pull evenly from both sides so that the thread length is equal. Take one needle and loop the thread once like this. Then stitch through the second hole as usual. After stitching, fold the piping strip with its insides together and place it between the two pieces. Make sure the direction is correct. Then pass through the third hole of all 3 layers in order. Note that the first 2 holes of the piping strip are not sewn. Continue stitching forward normally, and stop after completing the 4th hole. Now the 4th hole has been sewn. Take the piping cord and trim the top to make it even. Insert the piping cord like this. Make sure it sits behind the stitching, deep inside the piping strip. Insert the piping cord like this. Make sure it sits behind the stitching, deep inside the piping strip. Align the holes and continue stitching forward using the same method. Check the stitch section, make sure the thread is pulled tight. It will be easier to sew if you align the holes first and secure them with clips. Continue stitching normally and stop after the fourth to last hole. When sewing around corners, pass through one piece at a time. It makes stitching easier. Be careful not to miss any holes. There are many layers, so it might be tricky to sew. Be patient and enjoy the crafting process. Now only 3 holes remain. Align the piping cord with the fourth hole and trim off the excess. Then sew the third hole as usual. Note that for the final 2 holes, the piping strip is not included. Trim the excess piping strip, leave it slightly long before cutting. After stitching, backstitch once along the edge. Then finish the threads and hide them on either side. Cut off the extra piping strip like this. Leave about 1 mm exposed beyond the other materials to prevent slipping. Trim the other side using the same method. Check the stitched result, then flip the edge of the material like this. Take the front piece. Then take the long strip piece, the middle part is the bottom, and the two sides are the side panels. Place the front piece with the front side facing up. Place the long strip with the back side facing up. The sewing method is exactly the same as before, but this strip is slightly larger. Use the shorter piping strip and stitch it with the same method as before. Measure 4.5 times the stitch length and thread the needles as usual. The stitching process is exactly the same as before, so we won't repeat the explanation here. After stitching, turn it inside out in the same way. Take the front pocket piece and stitch along this row of holes. Measure 4 times the stitch length and thread the needles as usual. Start stitching from the first hole. Then sew forward with a single needle along this row of holes. This is a decorative stitch to make the finished piece more refined. When sewing through the gap, stitch normally from back to front and thread the needle between the two layers of material. When stitching from front to back, insert the needle into the right hole. Then use the back needle to go from right to left through the first hole of both materials. Then use the bottom needle to go from back to front through one hole in the gap. Use the other needle to stitch from front to back through the left side of the gap. Then continue stitching forward as normal. Stitch the other gap using the same method. After finishing, tie off the thread on the back side. After finishing, take the front piece and stitch using the same method. Check the result after stitching both. Place both pieces with the front side facing up. Align them according to this row of holes. Measure 4 times the stitch length and thread the needles as usual. To begin, stitch the first needle from back to front through the first hole of the front piece only. The second needle goes from back to front through the second hole of the front piece, then through the first hole of the front pocket. Continue stitching forward. The last hole is also stitched through the front piece only. Tie off the thread on the back side after finishing. When reaching the reference hole, check if it matches. If it does, continue stitching. If not, undo and redo the stitches. You have enough thread. After stitching, take the previously finished piece and place it face down. Be sure to place it in the correct direction. Place the front pocket face up and align the holes. Take the long piping strip and check if it is sufficient in length. The one I have is sufficient, and the one included in the kit should also be enough. Still, it's best to check first. Place the back piece with the back side facing up. Place the front pocket with the front side facing up and align the holes. Find the center holes on both pieces and align them. The center hole is much larger than the others. Take the piping strip and check whether both ends are even. If not, trim them flat. Measure 5 times the stitch length and thread the needles as usual. Align the second hole from the bottom of the piping strip with the center hole of the back piece. First, stitch from front to back through the second hole on the lower side of the piping strip. Then go from back to front through the center hole of the back pocket piece and the front pocket piece in order. Use the second needle to stitch through the adjacent hole on the right using the same method. There are many layers here, which may be difficult to stitch. Be careful not to poke yourself, take your time and enjoy the crafting process. Align the holes first, then use clips to secure them for easier stitching. Stitch normally at this part, just make sure not to miss any holes or layers. After finishing this side panel, it's time to join the thread. First, pull both needles through to the inside. During stitching, be careful not to miss the soft material layer. Leave a longer tail and cut the thread. Measure 4 times the stitch length and thread the needles as usual. Start joining from the 3rd stitch hole. Stitch forward as usual. It may be harder to pass the needle through because the hole already contains thread. When joining the threads, make sure to pull the previous ends tight for the first 3 stitches to ensure firmness. Basically, you're just connecting the stitch line. That's what joining the thread means. There is a shaping material here, just included in the stitching. We won't explain this part again. When you reach this point, count the holes. Normally, the side piece should be added starting from the 5th hole. After stitching the 7th hole, start a new thread. Measure 5 times the stitch length and thread the needles as usual. Join the thread using the same method as before. When stitching the 5th hole, add the side piece like this and sew them together. Then continue stitching forward as usual. When nearly finished, trim the excess piping cord, making sure the 2 needles are in the same hole. Then count the holes again. The 5th unstitched hole is the reference hole. Make sure to double-check. Leave for hole's length for the piping strip and trim off the excess. Be sure to count carefully and don't cut it too short. Finish stitching as usual, then tie off the thread at the bottom. Tidy up all the thread ends. Take a look at the finished stitching. Then shape the bag. It takes around 10 minutes. I will briefly demonstrate the method here. The bag is finished. Thank you for choosing Babylon Leather, wishing you the acquisition of valuable skills during your time here. If you've enjoyed our video, don't forget to like, comment, and share. For more information about this Babylon Leather DIY kit, check out the link and details in the description. Thanks for watching.